Good morning. Welcome to the Maryland Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for May 27th, 2020. The commission will come to order. To begin with, we have proposed draft minutes from the last meeting on May 20th, 2020 to vote on. The vote begins with Commissioner Richard.
I vote aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
And Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
I vote aye. The minutes are approved. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the outset of today's meeting, we do have two deferrals. At the request of the applicants, the Commission will defer items number 7 and number 8 to next week's administrative meeting on June 3rd, 2020. There are 6 items on today's consent agenda, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1 consists of updated standard offer service rates from Delmarva Power and Light for Type 2 customers and Type 1 and residential customers. Item number 2 consists of updated standard offered service rates from Pepco for Type 2 customers and Type 1 and residential customers. Item number 3 consists also of standard offer service rates from BGE for Schedule PL Type 1 and Type 2 customers and residential and Type 1 customers. Item number 4 consists of updated SOS rates from the Potomac Edison Company for Type 1 and Type 2 customers. Item number 5 is an application from Energy Harbor LLC for a license to supply natural gas or natural gas supply services in Maryland. And finally, item number 6 is the application from Lexington Chenoa Wind Farm LLC for certification of the wind farm as a renewable energy facility for the Maryland RPS program.
Thank you. Do commissioners have questions or comments? Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your indulgence. Just a comment on item number 6. It's a 205 megawatt industrial scale wind farm facility located in Illinois. I'm sure it represents many tens of millions of dollars of outgo in the cost of the RECs, but even more so the construction jobs and the operation jobs and the maintenance jobs and the supply chain economic activity to support this facility, as well as the revenues that would come to the state through secondary and tertiary economic activities, is incalculable, and it's a continuous drain. And to me, it's a symbol of a flaw in this process where so much money goes out of our state's economy, but there is no reciprocal return to our state's economy from other states. And I think it's an injustice to our ratepayers, regardless of how good the intention of the renewable portfolio standard created by the legislature is. So I had to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Seeing no other questions or comments, I would propose with respect to items number 1 through 6, these motions. With respect to items number 1 and 2, that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of October 1st, 2020 for residential and Type 1 customers, and an effective date of June 1st, 2020 for Type 2 customers. With respect to item number 3, that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of October 1st, 2020 for residential and Type 1 customers, and an effective date of June 1st, 2020 for Schedule PL Type 1 and Type 2 customers. With respect to item number 4, that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective. With respect to item number 5, that we grant the company a license to operate as a natural gas supplier in Maryland for the customer classes and service territories applied for and recommended by staff. And that we direct the company to provide marketing materials specific to its Maryland operations to the commission staff and Office of People's Counsel 30 days prior to utilization of the materials in Maryland. 30 days of any changes to the information in the application. And finally, with respect to item number 6, that we approve the application and issue a renewable energy facility certification number. We direct the company to establish a REC account with PJM GATS within 30 days of certification, and direct the company to file notice with the commission within 30 days of any changes to the information in the application. The vote begins with Commissioner Richard.
I vote aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
And Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motions are approved. Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Mr. Chairman, item number 9 on today's administrative agenda consists of revisions to the lighting options offered in Schedules PL and SL of Baltimore Gas and Electric's tariff. For the company, we have Beverly Sikora and John Frayne, and for staff, Anna Joy Thompson and Michael Dean.
Thank you. Good morning, staff.
Good morning. Sorry. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Anna Joy Thompson on behalf of staff. On April 6, 2020, Baltimore Gas and Electric Company filed Supplement 646 to PSC Maryland E6, BGE's retail electric service tariff. In this supplement, the company proposes additional energy-efficient lighting options via 10 new light-emitting diode LED fixtures and 2 poles, and minor modifications to certain fixtures and pole descriptions in Schedule PL, private area lighting, and Schedule SL, street lighting retail electric service tariffs. In addition, the company proposes the removal of 2 obsolete pole options from Schedule PL. Staff has reviewed the updated tariff descriptions and has determined that the updated language is accurate and appropriate. Furthermore, staff has reviewed the worksheets provided by BGE used in setting the rates for the new fixtures and poles, and staff believes that the process used to set the rates is reasonable and consistent with how BGE established rates for new LED lighting options previously, and that the proposed rates meet the just and reasonable standard in the statute. Staff recommends that the Commission accept for filing the tariff revisions to Schedule PL and Schedule SL with an effective date of June 1st, 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Counsel for BGE.
Good morning, Chairman Stanek, Commissioners. Beverly Sikora on behalf of BGE. I have no further comments, but I'm available for questions along with Mr. Frayne.
Thank you, Ms. Sikora. Seeing no questions from the commissioners, I'll propose that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2020. The vote begins with Commissioner Richard.
I vote aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
And Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, 10 on today's administrative agenda consists of updated discount rates from Potomac Electric Power Company for the purchase of receivables. On this item for staff, we have David Hoppick and Annette Garofalo, and for the company, Matt Seegers and.
Thank you. Good morning, staff.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. David Hoppick on behalf of staff. By letter order dated October 5th, 2009, the Commission gave the Potomac Electric Power Company, or PEPCO, broad guidance for establishing purchase of receivables, or POR, discount rates. PEPCO has filed revised POR rates effective June 1st, 2020. The proposed residential POR rate is 0.1407%, decreasing from the current 0.6879% rate. The Type 1 POR rate is 0.0101%, increasing from the current 0%. All other commercial classes POR rates remain unchanged at 0%. PEPCO is including interest revenue and expense in its reconciliation calculation. This is consistent with PEPCO's tariff, as well as the Potomac Edison and BGE filings. Staff recommends that PEPCO's revised POR rates be accepted for filing effective June 1st, 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppick. That was a lot of zeros. Counsel for PEPCO.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Matthew Seegers appearing for PEPCO. Appearing with me once again is Ms. Susan DeVito. We have nothing to add to staff's comments, but we are available if there are any questions.
Thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions?
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Herman.
Thank you. Mr. Hoppick, I just want to be clear here that unlike Delmarva Power and Light, there's no amortization going on in this POR, is there?
That is correct. So we have never had to amortize PEPCO uncollected costs.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
With that, I'll move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2020. The vote begins with Commissioner Richard.
I vote aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item On the administrative agenda consists of updated gas discount rates from Baltimore Gas and Electric Company for the purchase of receivables. For the company on this item, we have Christia Ravenel and John Frayne, and for staff, Afton Hauer and Annette Garofalo.
Thank you. Good morning, staff.
Good morning. Can you all hear me?
We could hear you, Ms. Hauer.
Great. I'm using a new mic. Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. April 20th, 2020, Baltimore Gas and Electric Company filed a tariff revision to company's gas purchase of receivables discount rates effective.
And Ms. Hauer, it's coming in rather soft. I'm not sure if you could pull the mic a little closer. You were beginning to fade.
Does this work better?
That sounds better.
Okay. On April 20th, 2020, Baltimore Gas and Electric Company filed a tariff revision to update its annual recalculation of the company's gas purchase of receivables discount rates, effective June 1st, 2020. The proposed POR rate for all classes remains unchanged at 0%. As explained in staff's comments, BGE is proposing to recover RM54 programming costs from existing POR reconciliation balances. Staff concludes the method by which BGE is proposing to recover the RM54 programming costs is consistent with Commission precedent. Staff recommends that BGE's revised POR rates be accepted for filing effective June 1st, 2020.
Thank you very much. Counsel for BGE.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Christia Ravenel on behalf of BGE. I have no additional comments, but John Frayne and I are here for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Ravenel. Any questions from the commissioners? Seeing none, I move that we accept the tariff revisions with a filing of, with an effective date of June 1st, 2020. The vote begins with Commissioner Richard.
I vote aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton. Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, number 12 on today's administrative agenda consists of updated electricity discount rates from Baltimore Gas and Electric Company for the purchase of receivables. Again, we have Christia Ravenel and John Frayne for the company, and Dave Hoppick and Annette Garofalo for staff.
Good morning again, David Hoppick on behalf of staff again. By letter order dated October 7, 2009, the Commission gave Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, or BGE, broad guidance for establishing purchase of receivables, or POR, discount rates. BGE has filed revised POR rates effective June 1st, 2020. The proposed POR rate for all classes remains unchanged at 0%. As explained in staff's comments, BGE is proposing to recover RM54 programming costs from existing POR reconciliation balances. Staff believes the method by which BGE is proposing to recover the RM54 programming costs is consistent with Commission precedent. Staff recommends that BGE's revised POR rates be accepted for filing effective June 1st, 2020. Thank you.
Thank you. Counsel for BGE.
Christia Ravenel for BGE again. No comments from BGE, but we're available for questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Richard.
Yeah, I just am interested in these the balances, because I did go back to the 2017 buck sheet, and the amounts at that time that were being recovered, I think were 2,197,000, of which BGE was seeking 1,361,000. They seem to be slightly different this time, and also the requested amortization is at the time was 2 years. Now it's 5 years. I just interested to know between 2017 and now what might have changed.
Certainly. So I assume you're referring to the supplemental comments I included in the appendices. Is that correct, Commissioner Richard?
Well, actually, I was looking at 2017. Is there?
In the appendix, I included the supplemental comments from 2017. So BGE did include approximately $1.3 1.36 million in RM54 capital costs for recovery in its 2017 POR filing. That was just for the electric portion. And if you actually look in my appendices, which includes those supplemental comments, I can find the page. It's actually, I believe, the 18th page. So there's a data request from the company, and they're showing the capital costs to be recovered from electric POR rates in that filing was that $1.36 million, and then the capital cost to be recovered from the gas was about $670,000, which adds up to the same amount that they are recovering in total in the instant filing. However, in the instant filing, as you noted, this is being amortized over 5 years. So we specifically asked the company about that. These are classified as common costs, programming costs, and it is common practice for BGE to amortize programming costs over 5 years. The amount coming from the reconciliation balance for electricity in the instant filing is a bit less than the 2017 filing because it's being allocated between transmission, electric distribution, and gas. And the amount allocated to transmission, it is our understanding based on conversations with the company that is already included in transmission rates, the NITS rates approved by FERC. So hopefully, let me know if you need anything further on that.
No, that was it. It just, and I think a concern at the time in 2017 by the suppliers was whether or not the staff had done a review of the prudency of these charges. Did staff do that this time?
So we did that in the supplemental filing in 2017. And I specifically asked in a data request if this is the same funds that were requested to be recovered previously, and they said they were. And it's down to the dollar, the same total amount. And similar to 2017, there are no capital carrying costs associated with this. Yeah, so staff has reviewed the prudency of the expenditure.
Okay, great, thanks. And finally, how much is in the supplier liability fund at this point? Do you have that number? I mean, is that still a growing fund?
So give me a moment. For BGE, the amount in the supplier liability fund for residential, in the calculation, it shows about 1.3 million, and then the other classes add up to, I would say, about 5 million. So there's a fair amount still in the supplier liability fund, or the reconciliation balances.
Okay.
So you can see that if you look at their BGE's worksheets.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Seeing no additional questions, I move that we accept the tariff provisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2020. The vote begins with Commissioner Richard.
I vote aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
And Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 13 on today's administrative agenda consists of revisions to Baltimore Gas and Electric Company tariff concerning the comprehensive balancing service price and self-balancing service price for daily customers. On this item, we have Bev Sikora and John Frayne for the company, as well as Afton Hauer and Michael Dean for staff.
Thank you. Hello again, Ms. Hauer.
Mr. Hoppick and I are just flip-flopping. Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Afton Hauer on behalf of staff. On April 2nd, 2020, the Baltimore Gas and Electric Company filed Supplement 465 to PSC MDG-9. Company proposes to revise the comprehensive balancing service price and self-balancing service price for daily metered customers with service rendered effective June 1st, 2020. The proposed comprehensive balancing charges and the self-balancing rates reflect a decrease from last year's rates. The comprehensive balancing service charge has decreased from 0.0006 cents per therm to 0.0005 cents per therm. The company states that there are 409 comprehensive balancing customers, 276 of which are in Schedule C, 85 in Schedule IS, 44 in Schedule ISS, and 4 in Schedule EG. And they currently do not have any self-balancing customers. Staff has reviewed the development of the proposed balancing charges and concluded they were accurately calculated. As required by Order Number 72269, the BGE analysis includes a statement concerning the level of competition for balancing services. BGE does not contend that a competitive market for balancing services has developed, and these rates continue to be cost-based. Staff recommends the Commission accept the tariff for filing with an effective date of June 1st.
Thank you. Counsel for BGE.
Again, good morning, Commissioners and Chairman Stanek. No comments from BGE, but we're here for questions.
Questions from the Commissioners? Hearing none, I move that we accept the tariff provisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2020. The vote begins with Commissioner Richard.
I vote aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
And Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
I vote aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 14 on today's administrative agenda is Columbia Gas of Maryland's WarmWise Low Income Usage Reduction Program and Energy Efficiency Rider. We have Rebecca Garrity, Deb Davis, and Megan Moore, and for staff, Paige Shaw and Michael Dean.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Shaw.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Paige Shaw on behalf of staff. On April 22nd, 2020, Columbia filed its proposal to update its WarmWise Low-Income Usage Reduction Program and revise its EE rider effective June 2020 through May 2021. Revisions to this filing were made May 15th, 2020 to update its original proposal, as well as its EE rider given changes that have been made due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The proposed EE rider surcharge in the supplemental filing will replace the existing surcharge effective May 29, 2020. Columbia halted all work on the program on March 15, 2020 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The company is projecting to reopen the program by October 2020 or as soon as normal activity resumes in the counties it serves. Columbia will make a subsequent filing to revise its EE rider rate if the company is in a position to spend more funds than budgeted before the end of the program year. Columbia is proposing an EE rider of negative 0.00035 per therm, which would return money back to residential customers. This is due to Columbia only using the unspent funds from the 2019-2020 program year as its total budget. The company is forecasting it will still be able to weatherize around 10 homes for the upcoming program year. Staff has reviewed the filing and finds the company's proposed EE rider is reasonable and prudent given the suspension of the program and concludes that the rates were calculated correctly. Staff recommends the Commission approve Columbia's WarmWise Low-Income Usage Reduction Program and accept for filing Columbia's revised EE rider effective May 29, 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Counsel for the utility.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Megan Moore on behalf of Columbia. I have nothing to add except I'd like to thank staff and especially Ms. Shaw for working with us on this filing, and we're here for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Ms. Shaw just mentioned, so 10 more homes will be worked on before the program suspends. Is that right?
The 10 would be from the period of when we start back up until May 2021.
Okay, right. And how is that determined? Just 10 homes?
I'm going to pass that to Deb Davis, just in case I missed anything here.
Good morning. That's just based on the average we have spent on homes in the past and the amount of money, the $45,000 plus that we're carrying over.
Okay, so an average home is between $4,000 and $5,000.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? Hearing none, I will move that we approve the company's WarmWise Low Income Usage Reduction Program and accept the revised EE rider for filing with an effective date of May 29th, 2020. Begins with Commissioner Richard.
I vote aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, the final item, number 15 on today's agenda, is a request from the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development for approval to transfer funds in the Limited Income Energy Efficiency Program and Multi-Family Energy Efficiency and Housing Affordability Program. On this item from DHCD, we have Scott Falvey and Nicola Tran. For OPC, William Fields and Anna Ryan. And for staff, Kevin Mosier and Annette Garofalo.
Thank you. Good morning, staff.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. By letter dated April 2nd, 2020, DHCD is requesting the ability to reallocate funds between the LEAP resident and the residential portion of the MEHA programs within a utility service territory. DHCD made a similar request in its 2020 Empower Maryland plan. It was filed on September 1st, 2017. However, the Commission rejected the request in order number 88514. The instant filing by DHCD addresses the concerns raised by the order 88514 by limiting the transfers to between the residential budgets and within a utility service territory, and only transferring the funds into the customer benefits sub-budget. Staff believes that the additional restrictions DHCD is putting on fund transfers addresses the issues raised in the order. Therefore, staff recommends that the Commission grant DHCD's request, subject to staff authorization and a limit of 15%.
Thank you, Mr. Mosier. Counsel for Office of People's Counsel.
Morning, Your Honor. Anna Ryan for the Office of People's Counsel. I'll be very brief. I would just like to add that OPC concurs with staff that in this request, DHCD has addressed the Commission's previous concerns and that we support this request in order to allow DHCD to maximize customer benefits.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. And finally, we'll hear from the the department.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Scott Falvey was prepared to speak on our behalf, but he lost internet connection, so it will be me on the fly. We are requesting the ability to have a limited amount of flexibility to transfer funds between the LAIP residential and the MEHA residential budget, and between subcategories such as EM&V marketing to the customer benefit budget. All of these transfers would be to the benefit of the limited income customers. There wouldn't be any change in the target market with these transfers, and all transfers would be to increase the service that can be provided to the customers.
Thank you, Ms. Tran. Commissioner Linton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. And I'll apologize to Ms. Tran. I had a question for DHCD, but I understand that you're just kind of stepping in here at the last minute. I was curious about DHCD's proposal to transfer some funding from EM&V. I was under the impression that those are fairly stable costs. So how are you planning to realize savings there that would be available for transfer to the customer benefit budget?
Our contract with our evaluator is a 5-year contract, and typically the majority of the work is being done at the beginning of the contract. A lot of the work is front-loaded. We're now in year 5, actually, of the contract, so there has been less spending in this cycle than in the prior cycle.
Okay, so you've got some extra money there, regardless of whether or not the commission were to grant this motion. That money would be available there anyway.
Yes, it would be, and it would not be able to be used for customer benefit if this request is not granted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Ms. Tran, the staff has put some recommended that we approve the request with a limit of 15% and their approval. Do you have any concerns with the staff qualifications?
No, we believe that's adequate and in line with the utilities.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Hearing none, I move that we approve DHCD's request subject to the staff's authorization and a transfer limit of 15%. The vote begins with Commissioner Richard.
I vote aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
And Commissioner Herman.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. The motion is approved. With no additional business on the commission's agenda this morning, thank you. This meeting is adjourned.